Hi, why the fuck nodders? I'm Ed.
I'm Dwight.
I'm Aaron.
So we're just kind of sitting around. It's been a long week for all of us. Dwight, why don't you let us know how your week's been?
Well, my week's actually been pretty good, despite the stresses maybe at work. But for the most part, it's been pretty good. You know what I was thinking as soon as we started this is that, and I mentioned it as soon as we came in here, that we're all like sitting in our routine spots, like we don't think about it anymore. We just sit down where we've recorded the previous 4 podcasts.
Yeah, it's come natural at this point.
It just comes natural. And you know what I love about this spot? I was thinking is that there's no backing. I'm sitting kind of like on a where you put your feet. What do you call that?
Yeah, ottoman.
An ottoman.
Yeah, they're ottomans. Yeah.
And I get to sit cross-legged, and I don't know. I feel really good sitting here.
Good on your posture.
Just good on my posture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got the nice yoga position.
My friend bought me a meditation pillow for Christmas, and it's like, I don't know, it's like 3 inches tall, and it's just like a little tiny circle, and I sit on it all the time at home. So maybe I'm just like used to it.
Is this like your like Zen point where you can just get away from it all, that one little fucking cross-leg thing?
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
Sweet, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it also forces us to like look directly at you when we're talking to you, because there's fucking like, we can look at bases and stuff, but
There's
it's not
tons
like,
of cool stuff
Yeah.
behind me.
it's easy to focus on you with there. There's like nothing on a backdrop,
That's
so it makes it a
right.
little bit easier. How's your week been there, Aaron?
Not too bad. I've been testing out my new video card.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, you got that in,
The
eh?
3090
Happy, that's like getting a new girlfriend.
For me, basically.
This is good as
This
it
is
gets.
going to take up all your time.
Yeah.
It took up all your
Cost
money. It's a
you money.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
I got back into Rust.
Yeah.
So
Oh, you're back in Rust?
A little bit. I'm not hardcore like I used to be.
So only like 80 hours this week?
Yeah.
How do you define hardcore? Like, what hour? Like, at what point do you say I'm hardcore now?
To the point where like I was like well, when there's less people on the server, it's easier to do your stuff, and there's less people on the server in the morning, so sometimes I just wouldn't sleep, and I would just like play at like 7 in the morning.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So that's hardcore.
Yeah, that's
No,
Those are
like-
those days when you come to work and I see you're like red fucking eyed, like really bad.
Yeah.
Like not your average, normal red eye, but like I mean like fucking red eye.
Yeah.
Like, somebody's been playing Rust all fucking night.
Most of the times I don't mean to do it, I just try to sleep and it doesn't happen, and it's a perfect excuse to go play Rust.
That's a fucking cycle, though. You know that, right? Because
Yeah, it's
sitting in front of
I
the
don't
computer
think that
stimulates
helps you.
your eyes.
Yeah.
Which
There's-
makes you awake.
It's not going to
There's
make you sleep
programs
any
for
better.
that. There's a program.
There's programs.
Programs for
Programs that you can play your game and get sleepy while you're
Yeah,
playing
exactly.
it. You
You
show
can
me
sleep
said
while you-
program and I will invest.
You know what's pretty cool for sleeping too is like, have you ever
Working on
heard those like the self? It's like a no like rainfall or whatever in the.
I do it
background.
every day,
It's-
every single night.
okay,
I do
cool.
it. Yeah, YouTube's got a ton of freaking
Ton of them.
shows. Yeah,
Yeah.
I listen to them every single night. I can't sleep without it.
Yeah.
I put Rainfall in the background. Actually, I've come across a
Isn't that
couple
nice?
that are like have like nice. For me, it needs to be rainfall with like a little bit of thunder, that's sporadic.
Oh yeah,
There's a
yeah,
website
but not
called
too aggressive on that.
Rainymood.com.
What's it called?
Rainymood.com.
Rainymood.com.
That's all
That's
it
what it
is.
does?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Mind you, screw this podcast. Let's just make relaxing noises, and then like people will play it over and over again while they're sleeping. We'll have lots of
do a
ads.
sleep.
Yeah, come on. Look
That'd be
at
great. We'll have a nice. The new podcast is called Sleepover, so everybody.
Sleepover party.
Myself, it's been a pretty stressful week, but I mean, it's finally eased up and things are looking really nice, so I'm happy about that. We're kind of just on the beginning of us setting up our vacation, so we're this week we're
exciting.
just finishing like paying it off and getting ready to.
Where did you guys decide to go again?
We're doing Orlando. We're gonna do a couple days at.
Oh, that's right. Because the first question I asked you was, "Are you going to Disneyland?" And you said no, which really threw me off. Because
Well, we
Disney
are.
World, sorry.
We're doing. Okay, here's the deal, right? We're not 100% on what we're doing, but we're gonna do 2 days at Orlando's Universal Studios.
Awesome.
And then my wife wants to go to Epcot Center for 1 day, which is in Disneyland or Disney World, whatever it is. But right now we're thinking, well, instead of doing 3 days at the fucking
Disneyland?
No, not Disneyland.
Epcot?
No. God damn it, I can't fucking say the goddamn words. Epcot. Universal Studios. 3 days at Universal Studios. We're going to do 2 there and 2 at Disney World, which gives her a chance to do, like, the Enchanted Kingdom, which is kind of like
cool.
the Disney Princess thing, which is, it's good for her, because her whole family is, like, really tight with the Disney Princess world. So I think she'll really enjoy
let's
it.
be honest. Who doesn't love Disney princesses?
Yeah.
Oh, that's absolutely.
Even I do.
I
Cynical as I am.
Of course.
Ariel's fucking hot.
Ariel or
Yeah, the one with the fish bottom.
the mermaid?
The one with the fish bottom.
Yeah.
Do you think it would still
when
be
she
hot
was
if
in
it
her-
was reversed? If it was like the fish head
Oh,
and then
even hotter,
the
man.
hotter bottom?
I love legs.
Like some legs.
Like the legs.
Well, if you didn't already know, you've tuned in to Why the Fuck Not, where three guys sit around one table and bring their own random discussions for us to be able to talk about and for you to have some amusement for it. So right now, we're going to swish this over to Dwight, and Dwight, you can kind of take the lead on this, as always.
A little swishy shwoo. Yeah, so the question I wanted to ask today was what makes someone successful? So I hear all the time, like success is a lot of the time. It seems to be, anyways, to me that success is determined by how much money you make for the most part. Like or the position, the career that you've chosen to go into, and if it's like on the hierarchy of the career path. So if I said I was a lawyer, I'd be more successful than someone that's maybe washing dishes, for instance.
Yeah, but what if washing dishes person's making more money than the lawyer person?
What
In
would you?
some fucked up world.
Yeah, for some fucked up reason. Like
Yeah.
washing fucking, I don't know,
gold dishes.
gold dishes. Yeah,
Gold
the
dishes.
prince's dishes or some
Well,
shit.
maybe-
Like maybe he's
Would
making
that
sure
be
he's-
considered more successful then?
Yeah, that's
Or
what
is
I'm
the
asking.
career-
Yeah, you're working for the prince.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
don't even
again,
think there is a
but then
prince.
it's. I think it would be. Well, in some people's eyes. So this is the question that's going to have to get answered today. Is that like what makes someone more successful than the other? Is it the title of the job now? Like, are we saying it's because of the dishwasher, or is it because that person's making more money?
No, it's how many
Who's
hours
that?
they have in Rust.
It's how many hours they have fun. Okay, so
Aaron is the most successful person in the
I
world.
win.
I win.
I win.
I am successful. Let me start by saying the definition of success. So the definition of successful is like dictionary.com is accomplishing an aim or a purpose. So whatever you're setting out to do and you accomplish it. So it could be as simple as the example I've used before is if you wanted to work at a gas station and you've decided you want to work at a gas station, you love pumping gas and you love interacting with people and you like being outside, and you're doing exactly what you wanted to do and what you set out to do, that makes you a successful person.
Absolutely.
You may have
Absolutely.
little aspirations, but
But
you're successful.
I mean, regardless of aspirations, if this is what you want and this is what you want to do, and now you're happy in that
Yeah.
situation, when that is would success be happiness?
Unfortunately, society
That's a
doesn't
good-
look at it that way.
Well, it's not about society. I think success should be determined within oneself.
Yeah, that's a good.
Society does look at people.
Oh,
like
now
that,
you're
though.
dropping
true.
philosophical bombs on me.
I'm sorry, man. Yeah. Sorry, Aaron.
Oh God,
I'll never do it again.
what is happening?
Well, I'm just saying, is happiness the point of success, or is money? Because you're saying like titles and money, right?
Yeah.
Happiness should be put in that just as strongly, I think.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Like if you're really happy at washing dishes, we'll use that example, and you've said like we work with a guy who loves
Happy
washing,
motherfucker.
loves washing dishes. Like
Yep.
I don't think he would want to do anything else.
I've tried. He
ever.
doesn't want to do it.
He doesn't want to.
Yeah, this is what he wants to do.
He
Yeah.
loves washing dishes. It's like I could not think of another career that he'd even want to go in. It allows. He takes pride in his dish pit. He's
Oh, boy,
like,
does he ever.
He's like super passionate about working in a dish pit. And to some people that may be considered unsuccessful, but to me, I look at Devo and I just name dropped.
Yeah, you're welcome, Devo.
You're welcome, Devo.
Shout out.
He loves his job, loves working the dish pit, and I think he's a successful person because he's doing exactly what he wants to be doing. He doesn't regret any day. I think he loves coming into work every single day.
Yeah.
He takes pride in his job.
Yeah, if it
And,
isn't going right, you can see it in his posture and his stance, everything he's
Totally.
doing. Yeah, it affects him when it's not going the way he feels that it should be.
Yeah, but he wouldn't. I don't think he would change it for the world. So I think Devo is a successful person because he is set out to do exactly what he wants to do, and he's accomplishing it on a daily basis. So, to me, Devo is a successful person. So, like,
Yeah,
how
that
would
makes sense.
so how would you? What would you think is a successful person? Like, how could you say I am successful? Like Aaron.
Well, to me, success is just basically surviving.
Just scraping by with bread.
Yeah, as long
Maybe
as I'm,
butter if you're lucky.
as long as I'm still got a pulse, I'm basically surviving. I've accomplished all I needed to. No. Yeah, well, basically, as long as you can provide for yourself and you're not feeling like shit 90% of the time, you're in a somewhat better place.
So you go to the happiness thing. So
Yeah,
if you're
I would
happy,
say it's
you're-
based on happiness.
Okay.
I think it's a fair assessment. Like, I mean,
Let's dig into that then. So what attributes to happiness?
yeah, what makes you happy at the end of the day?
Well, self-fulfillment, I guess. So that would go to having a job you want or doing something you want.
Awesome.
Other than that, Yeah, I think it's mostly just doing what you want to do and being able to make a living out of it.
Cool.
Like, I mean, I like what I'm doing now. I consider it successful. But if I could, let's say, do podcasting or video games and get paid for it and be happier doing what I'm doing, I would say I would be more successful. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so. Like again, I think you hit it on like the nail on its head when you said, again, it's like doing something that you want to be doing, and like if your passion, I guess we can use that word. If your passion is podcasting and your passion is, being a video game programmer, and you're at least working towards that, I don't think you necessarily always have to, like, if you're saying doing podcasting, which we're doing a podcast right now. You're doing what you think you would consider yourself to be successful doing.
So do you put yourself...
But you're doing it already.
So you had
That's
mentioned
true.
earlier putting that doing what you love to do and making money at it to get to the succession, right? At this moment, we're not making any money doing this. We do this because we like doing it. Would you put this as success?
I would put it as success in a form that it's helping me and it's doing something that I want to do. So, yes, I would consider it a form of success.
Well, that's
But
good.
mind
That's-
you, if I was able to do this full time, I would consider it more successful.
Because you're doing your dream on a daily basis.
Exactly, and you're also making money, which is what we believe makes the world go round.
To a fair degree, yeah, I think that's right. I just like myself on my definition of success. I think is definitely happiness. That's why I brought it out in the very very beginning of that. Is just it's very important to me, just to be happy in whatever I'm doing. Being miserable, I've been there. It's not fun, and it becomes daunting, and you can't stand people that you love. You can't stand because you're just in this miserable position. I find myself, because I guess you can say chasing the dream for years of my life now. Like I've been a manager and a cook for a long time. I don't feel like I've capped out or anything. There's lots of other areas that I can branch off and do if I really wanted to make a further success out of that. But I don't feel that that's where my succession is going to be. I feel that I've tried over the past 5-6 years of my life trying to follow my heart and follow my feelings to where I need to go. For those that don't know my background, I did do YouTube for a little while with video games, and had a very tight circuit of friends that I kind of did this YouTube stuff with. So shout out to all you guys. But I slowly started losing that love from it. It wasn't quite there anymore. And I think part of the reason is that I didn't have quite the same people on my side with the same creative passion on it. And as I was working with a friend of mine, like a great guy, awesome knowledge on video games, and has a passion for it, but I don't know his passion was the same direction that mine was.
Okay.
So I kind of felt like I was like
So someone
losing.
else was attributing to your...
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if that was great. I don't know if that brought me where I was going.
I think some of the problems we have when we talk about success, and it's very easy to get down on yourself and be depressed if you don't think you're a successful person. Like if you think of, like, if we're saying the opposite of success is failure, right? If you're thinking of yourself as a failure on a daily basis, then you're doing more harm than good. It's like we talked about, like, the law of attraction last time, right? Like if I'm waking up and being the guardian of your own mind and making sure that your thoughts that you're thinking all the time are positive, if I kept looking at myself as a failure, it would exude through how my life is going to be, right? It's going to play out. It's going to play the forms of my life.
You are
Definitely.
a failure because
I
you
am
think
a
you're
failure because I'm thinking I'm a failure. Yeah, exactly. So, but the issue, and it came out with both of you guys, is like when I asked, like, what's successful, and it would probably come out with me too if I was just like, if someone just brought it up randomly to myself. But both of you, it's like, it's hard for any one person to decide, okay, at this point, this is when I'm going to be successful. Like, if I was doing, like, for you, it was like, okay, like, if I did some podcasts, but, you know, the money kind of attributed to it afterwards, but you didn't think you were successful even though you're living out your dream at this current moment. But you probably don't look at yourself as a successful person. You probably look at yourself, like how you were talking there, that's what I'm going off of, that you weren't, like, fulfilling your dream right now.
Yeah,
You
I'd
think
say
there's
that's
something to
accurate.
always...
Well, I think there's levels to success.
Levels to
And I'm
success.
better than where I was, say, 6 months ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I agree with that. I think the levels of succession is a true aspect. You can have a moderate bit of success.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's a huge thing to know where you're going with it, right? So it's good to have these kind of conversations where it's like, Aaron knows that he's going to be successful when this and this and this happens. And at that point in time, you can call yourself and you can think that you're successful. But if you never like sit down and you're like deciding, okay, I'll feel successful when I hit this and this and this goal, and you're not writing that down, or you don't know, it's a dream that you're going to be chasing forever, is what I'm getting at. And it's going to be hard to ever get that self-fulfillment if you don't know the target, like if you don't know your end result and where you want it to be.
So focusing.
It goes back to setting
Just
goals.
Setting goals. That's exactly what it goes back to, right?
So one thing I've had trouble with in my past, not so much right now, I have a little bit more focus, and again, thanks to you, because you've kind of helped me get in focus on things, is picking that goal, picking that end, this is where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And what you've or how I feel that you've kind of taught me over the past like several months is not about finding that end goal, it's about finding smaller goals in between
Attainable
that end goal.
goals.
Yeah,
Sure.
Obtaining a goal.
Yeah.
Living in the moment.
Living in the moment,
Mm.
absolutely. Carpe
Absolutely.
diem.
Yeah. One thing that I would think that like attributes this, like when I look at a successful person, like if I was to look at someone and they're my role model, or they're someone I want to be like, I always think of them as like time management. I think successful people know that time is the number one commodity. It's the one thing you can never buy or buy back. And successful people will always just strive to make the most of their day. Like if I asked who I think is super successful, and I see them busy, and then somehow they're able to go to the gym 5 times a week, and they're able to go to work a full-time job. They got 2 kids. They're meal prepping every single day. They always seem to have time for everything. You never hear those people, those real successful people that are in control of time, ever say, I don't have the time to do this. They'll find a way. It's like, if you'll ask someone who's in like great shape, who has 2 kids, right, who has all this stuff on their plate, but they still manage to go to the gym all the time. They'll never tell you they don't have time to go to the gym, because they've made time to go to the gym. It's something that's now, if they have to sleep an hour less than they needed to before, they make that happen. They find a way to get the energy. They push themselves out of bed to get there in the morning. But they've taken full advantage of time. They've understood that this is the one thing that they need to take advantage of. So how I look at someone successful is someone who has a full day where they can look back on their day at the end of it and being like, oh, I didn't get this and this and this done, what I set out to do that day. They find a way to make it happen. And I think it's I just use the gym because I hear it all the time, right? Is I don't have time for the gym, right? I don't have 1 hour to help fuel my muscles and make myself feel like 1,000, something that you're going to have forever, and you're going to have to live with 90 years, is this body, right? And you want to feel confident, and you want to feel good, and you want to feel energized and lubricated all the time. And this gift is like so easily accessible to so many people, right? It's like you can get up and do jumping jacks, right? Like it's simple to do something like that. But the number one excuse.
It's not necessarily about spending money, right? Like
It's
you can go outside, take a walk. We've mentioned this before.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like you need the most expensive everything to get it going. Like it is as simple as just being active. Like I think back on like what is it, Joanne Hansen and Joanne McLeod or whatever his name from them. They that's what they were there. Like just get active.
Yeah.
It's not
get
about
out, move around.
Take some walks, go for a
But
jog.
they found time.
About,
they're
body
awesome.
break.
Yeah, body break.
Yeah. 90s kids.
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was
guess
their
you
message
guys
the
were
whole
80s
time.
kids.
It wasn't about like spending your money. It was about going out and being
Going out
active.
and being active.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it comes down to, I'd say, dedication and how dedicated you are to do it.
I think your dedication for one thing transfers to other things, though, and I think that's kind of where you're going with this point. Is if you can dedicate this, why can't you dedicate this? And
Yeah,
the
that's
real
right.
successful people
Yeah.
don't say why can't I. They just do it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
I think a great example of what you were talking about for the time management is Joe Rogan. Like, look at what he does. He does a million things, and he talks about this a lot. He does UFC. He's a commentator for UFC. He has kids. He does hunting, like bow hunting. He does archery. He does like 4 podcasts a week.
Yeah.
And he does jujitsu. Like he specifically talks about he only wants to do things that he finds are fun or beneficial.
Yeah.
And
Don't
sometimes
waste his time with
he was
nonsense,
doing
right?
too much things, so he had to cut out some of those things.
Mm-hmm. I remember I remember my manager one time. He thought I was overworking myself. Like I was working more than 8 hours every single day, and I started losing time to work out when I was at the gym. And he would make me sit down with my schedule, and I'd have a fully booked day. It would be like meeting. Like have a training session, and my schedule was packed. And he told me to pull up my schedule, and he'd look at it, and he said, "Where's your workout for every single day?" And I said, "You know what? Like I'm too tired when I wake up in the morning. I got to go home. I got to cook dinner. I got to do this, and this." And I made a million excuses why I couldn't work out. And he said, like, you're trying to get people in here and you're trying to get people fit, and I see nowhere in your schedule. And I said, I don't have the time to do it. And he said, never tell me that ever again, that you don't have the time to do it. And he took my schedule, moved some of the meetings around, and he blocked in 5 1-hour sessions for that week on when I have to train. And he's like, you've just made time to do it because you've decided to do it. So you're just taking advantage of your time, and you're making sure that your day is filled with things that you need to do, right? And you're making the most out of your day, and you're making the most out of your time, because so much time is just wasted doing absolutely nothing. So he made me find a way, and made it, took him 2 seconds to sit down and look at my schedule and say, this can be taken care of later here, and this can be moved to here, and this really doesn't need to be taken care of, right? Where's your priority list? And we were able to find a way to do it. And so I think going back to it, successful people will always find a way to make time to do exactly what they want to do, whether it's doing a podcast once a week. We've made time. If someone asked me before, what are you doing on Sunday? I'd say, I go to the gym and I go to work, and that's it. I don't have any more time. I'm tired.
That's it. That's done.
We've found a way to make it work, and it's because we've all decided that this is important to us, and we've made the time to do so, which makes us successful.
Absolutely great example of it, because I feel myself okay, I'm on the other side of the spectrum from you, right? You get up, you work out. You go to work, you do all your work, and then you sometimes go home, maybe do a bit of a workout. If you're not doing a bit of a workout, you're doing something.
Yes.
You're trying to accomplish something afterwards. Where myself, I wake up. That's about the end of it. So I wake up, I go to work, and by the time I'm getting home from work, my mind isn't like, what can I get done in the next 3 hours? Mine is, oh shit, I only have 3 hours before I have to go to bed, so that I can get my sleep before I get up again and go to work again. And it's a different mind frame that I'm sitting myself in.
Yeah.
I want to try and set myself in a different mind frame. And I think you and I have been speaking over the past, today especially, about some things that might change. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to try doing something like that. We'll call it a social experiment. Why the fuck not?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll do that as a choice of my own, and we're going to kind of report back and be like, okay, I've tried switching up what I'm doing and trying a different way of thinking things through before I'm done in the day, because I've been very lazy in my life. And I feel that I have been. I actually, I'm one good trait of myself is I'm very self-aware. I know, I don't necessarily fix it, but I know. Mm-hmm. So I know I have been lazy in my life, and I know that I've been, for the benefit of myself and the benefit of my wife, I've been wanting to change that. So now I've got a good outlet to try it. Yeah. So I think I'm going to take that. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Make the most of your days, and you're going to feel more successful by having, have you ever had a day where you're just you've done everything you wanted to do? You've had a ton on your plate, you did it all, you've maybe worked out, you ran a bunch of errands, you did your taxes, everything was done in that day, and at the end of the day you sit down on your couch and you're like, man, that was an awesome day because I have so much crossed off my list that I was able to accomplish.
This day was mine.
Awesome, right? And then how do you feel by the end of that day? You feel great, right?
And then whatever you want to do for recreation, you feel like you've earned it.
Exactly. So exactly. It's easier to justify yourself sitting down and playing a video game and relaxing for an hour,
or 100 hours, whichever,
or 9,000 hours on Rust. Whatever.
I'm not there yet.
But and
you passed the 1,000 mark. You're better than I.
Yes,
I am the most successful.
I am success.
Okay, well, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this next week pans out. I'm looking forward to being able to report back on exactly what it is. Yeah.
One thing is very good for anyone to do, and I hope I didn't bring this up in the previous podcast, but is to write down things that make you feel really good. At the end of the day, if you've had a great day, look back on your day, self-reflect. You should always self-reflect at the end of your day. If you're looking back on your day and being like, you know what, you feel super good today, and I was like, what did I do today? Okay, I was able to read for 15 minutes. I was able to listen to one of the records that I really like. I was able to, whatever it is, right? If playing Rust, maybe it's accomplishing something on Rust. Whatever it is, write down
whatever the fuck you do.
Whatever the fuck you do. Run around in the jungle.
Run around with naked men while they're screaming.
Whatever it is, write it down, because that's going to be your toolkit to know what a good day feels like and how you feel at the end of the day, because it's so easy to lose vision of that the next day, right? It's so hard to have a mock great day every single day, right? Otherwise, we'd all be doing it. But it's because a lot of the time we forget the simple patterns that made our day so great. Like for me, I know if I wake up in the morning, and it was like the podcast we did last week. If I wake up in the morning and if I read for 15 minutes, I've got it down to like if I read for 15 minutes and if I do yoga for 30 minutes and I have a pot of coffee and I get to like wake up with the sun on my own terms, I know that day is going to be amazing. Like I know I'll feel good at the end of the day, and I know it's because I've taken those 3 steps. I've always looked back on my days and been like, I had great days. What did I do? That was the shit I was doing, that I was always like, man, I feel great, I feel inspired, I feel like I've learned something today, I feel my body feels great. But I was able to look back on my day and self-reflect on my day and being like, I made the most of my time this day, and this is what made me happy.
That's kind of like it's kind of relative to this yesterday. In fact, for those that don't know, me and my wife's dating anniversary, because now we have 2 anniversaries.
Ooh, the wedding and the dating.
The wedding and the dating. So I think the dating one's going to disappear eventually. But right now, it's the first year of dating anniversary. So I got a card. I showed you the card. It was a nice card. And I started writing in it. And normally I'll write like a little blurb, I love you, and blah, 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 Ed. And I wrote one line, and I think it was like 5 years ago today I wrote, and I'm like, I like that line. I can do more with this than just writing a fucking blurb. So I spent about a half hour, and I literally wrote a poem off of that one sentence. Like, so I did like a 3-paragraph poem that all kind of like rhymed and mixed itself together. For those that don't know, I'm a bit of a musician, so I like stuff like that. But that like half hour that I took at the end of the day really made my day. I felt great afterwards. I put it on the pillow or whatever for her when she wakes up. She can see it right away. Yeah. And before she goes to work, because she's going to leave for work before I do.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. So she got that little thing, and then I got woken up in the morning to like a thank you, and like it was so nice and stuff. And then it turns out that she kind of got a little teary-eyed over it. So like I felt accomplished from what I did.
Yeah.
And it only took me a half hour to do something like that. And it was so simple, and I didn't have to take that half hour to my time. I could have just wrote the regular ass paragraph that is like, I love you, it's been 5 years, blah 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 Ed. So instead of blah 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 Ed, I put a little rhyme to it and added a nice sentiment and how I truly felt on things, and like I just picked a beginning and I picked an end and I filled in the middle.
Nice.
And it worked out really well. So I'll show it to you afterwards. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I want to see.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But like I realize, like from what you're saying, that even these small little things can really make a difference in your day. Never thought of writing them down though, and like having like almost like a good mood journal kind of deal. You know what I mean?
You know what? Like, it's so easy to forget. Like, it's so easy when then you wake up the next day to just forget really how good you were, like the emotional high you may have been on the previous day, or like it's so easy to forget that and get yourself back in a down mood. Like it's too simple. So what you really need to do is, like, if you were to set out exactly what made your day great and what exactly made you successful that day, or how you felt successful that day, you set out a goal and you went to achieve it, and you were able to do that on a daily basis. Think at all the fulfillment you'd have in your life if you had that one half an hour blurb where you put yourself out of the way to make that poem for half an hour and how good you felt. Imagine you did that every single day and you were on that high that you felt when she felt great about giving her the poem constantly.
It became infectious.
It's infectious, and then she's going to have a better day, you're going to have a better day.
Her better day is going to
when you're in a positive, that's right, and you're in a positive mindset, you're going to accomplish a lot more with your day as well, right?
Absolutely.
And you're going to feel a lot better about doing it.
Oh, today was a wonderful day. I felt really good.
And it probably stemmed because of that great thing you did, right?
Guaranteed it was. Like, thinking back on it, that's 100% where it came from.
So, cool exercise for everyone to try at home. Write down when you have a great day. Write down what you did that day. And figure out a way that you can mimic that on a daily basis.
Oh, that's...
And some bonus relationship advice from me.
Yeah, there you go. If you're going to listen to anybody, I'm the person to listen to. Is what I'm trying to say.
Not me. That's for damn sure.
Aaron, you know, come on.
Come on, you're good at it. We know there's going to be a little Mrs. Aaron somewhere, right?
I'm too poor for that.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, it's too much money on Rust.
I don't spend money on Rust.
You don't spend money on games, period.
Just my time, which is more
so
less important than money.
Dwight, you've already asked us. So what is your definition of success then? Like, what do you feel is successful for you?
Yeah, I think it's going back to it again. Is what I think is like someone taking their day and doing everything they need to do with it. Like, taking advantage of time is success to me. Like, time management, I guess it would be what I think is successful. And someone like Devo, going back to my example, someone who he's like spending his time and he's living exactly what he wants to do. As far as I can see.
Oh, absolutely. He goes when he's not there, he's doing whatever it is.
I think that's success. I don't think it has to be the amount of income you're making at all. which seems to be the societal scale that we put success on, or the pedestal we put success
Yeah,
on.
I think
Definitely.
you've steered success away from jobs in general with what your definition of success is. It has nothing to do with jobs at that
No.
point.
It's-
It can be relative to jobs, but it's not about jobs.
That's
And
a take I've never really heard from someone.
That's what I was thinking too.
And it's a killer for, like, you got to think of, like, young kids and they want to go to school and your parents are telling you, you know, you need to go to university and you need to do all these, like, you hear social influence from every direction, right? Like, on what you should be doing. And it's so hard to, like, veer from what you want to do and what you think is successful instead of what other people are telling you is successful. So you'll be successful if you go to university and then get a degree. It's things we've talked about before, right? It's like other people, external factors telling you what's going to make you successful, and it's going to put this blanket on you where you're not going to ever, unless you've hit what they think, or when maybe a peer or a friend has thought of success, you think if you've achieved that, then you still don't feel successful because it's whatever you've done. If you were a doctor and you didn't want to be a doctor, now you're stuck in this field for that, you know, that 2 seconds when you got the degree, and the 2 seconds, and it's something you want to follow. It's like you'll feel successful, but that's going to wear so fast because it's not something that you find yourself being successful at, right? It's something that you're just doing for someone else.
Let's do an exercise. It's a real simple one, and I invite people at home to do the same exercise. I don't know if you agree with this one. I think it's a good idea. I'm going to say what I think makes me successful, specifically, right now. Like how I feel.
Yeah,
Like,
I like
makes my
this.
success. I think
Alright.
you should do it, and I think you should do it too. I think what makes me successful is that I'm in a loving marriage that's basically, like, I know that this is the rest of my life. I feel success in the fact that I've self-taught myself how to play music. That puts me success. I feel success on that. I feel success that I've managed to work my way up at my work to the point that I'm like not capped out, but I'm basically there. You know, like I've gotten to the top of my grade, what I do, and I think a combination of my success would also be like the goals that I've made for myself over the next couple of years. I feel a success because I've pinpointed this is what I want to do, and I think that's where my success is. How about yourself, Dwight?
I think success, truthfully, like how I feel most successful when I get to sit around and talk with you guys. As corny as it sounds, and I can't top what you just said, thanks a lot, you asshole. But I think, honestly, that this is something that obviously all three of us are passionate about, and we all like to have our voices heard, and we all like to have a good conversation with each other, and I think I try my best every single day, which is what I feel successful about is, I try to maintain my body, and I try to do all these things, and the fact that I'm striving for it makes me feel successful, and the fact that I get to sit with you guys and do this once a week that I love more than anything makes me feel successful. So yeah, I believe in us, and I believe in this, and I feel successful just doing this. So right now, I'm living my success because I get to do this.
Just for the
I've
record,
met
my
the-
goal is part of that. just,
It was in there.
just for the record, that you were in the goal part. I also want to buy a house and other things, but that
I
goal
just always
was
go
this.
back to it. I was talking about this with Aaron on the drive home last time. I always think, like, if I didn't have that random conversation maybe with Aaron to know that he did podcasts, or if I didn't have that random, if I didn't stop at Smitty's on my way one day when I was applying for a position when I came back to Winnipeg, or I always think these little small things all kind of came together
Brought it to
for
where
a
it is.
reason, and-
Synchronicities.
Synchronicities.
Well, no, it's
nice word.
That is
Whoa.
good. Yeah,
I know words.
Yeah.
Aaron,
And yeah.
what makes you successful?
Knowing words?
That's pretty good.
No. It's all I need.
I know words good.
Good, I know.
Not to get, I don't know, emotional or to bring you down, but like, I kind of went through a lot of hardships growing up. And there was a lot of family problems. I think I find success in the fact that I'm really close with my mom and my brother. We're really tight. Like I'm closer with my mom than anyone else in the world, and I think it's just to have made it where I am today is to be honest kind of amazing. I don't really want to get into the details, but yeah, I'm just really glad my family is together, and I've been able to make it as far as I have.
That's awesome.
That's an awesome success. Really, it is.
Mm.
I 100% agree with that. I know a little bit of some of the stuff in the past, and you absolutely have fought a lot to get where you are. That is definite success right there, and yeah, you should be very proud of that. I think all of us should be proud of what we're doing just in general, and I think all of you guys out there should probably be proud of what you're doing.
Yeah, look at the successes on your day.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I think this little exercise doesn't seem like much, but it allows you to gain perspective on what you're actually doing with yourself. And that's kind of what I was thinking.
Remember, thoughts turn into words, words turn into actions, and actions shape your life. Just remember that.
Is that another Will Smith quote?
No, that was who was that?
I was going to say Will Smith is what I was thinking too.
It wasn't actually. I don't know.
Were you born in West Philadelphia, born and raised?
Somewhere in the playground. I
Spent most of your days?
spend most of my days.
I was chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool. I shot some b-ball outside of
Outside
school.
of school?
I don't know. I think that the conversation that we've just had on being successful is in itself a bit of a success. And I say that because we've gotten to that point in our lives that we can actually reflect upon what we've done to get ourselves here.
Yeah.
And to have this conversation. We talk about this podcast, like this is definitely a bright point of my week every single week, right? And just sitting here is very much like feeling that success.
Yeah.
Like all three different people taking the success and bringing it into one place, regardless of where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Do we see ourselves doing this a long time from now? I sure hope so.
Yeah, I hope so.
This is great. Like I really do enjoy this type of thing, and I think that if anything that we take from this conversation is that success doesn't need to be determined by what everybody else tells you, because that's not true success. Success has to be thought of by yourself and brought up by yourself. It has to be your own inner feeling as to what success is.
Yeah. And if you're working towards your goal, you're successful.
Absolutely. So, we're going to have to turn the tables just a little bit here, and we're going to have to bring on
Slightly.
Aaron. Aaron, what's your topic today?
Well, I thought since last week's topic went so well, I think I would like to expand on it a little bit. Last week I was talking about the spirit molecule, dimethyltryptamine, and I would like to talk about another equally as interesting molecule known as LSD.
Woo! Jerry Garcia, here we come.
Drugs.
Yes. Well, LSD, if you may or may not know, is lysergic acid diethylmide. That's
Nice.
it. I've done a lot of research on this, watched a bunch of documentaries this morning. This was a drug first invented by Albert Hofmann in Switzerland in 1938.
Wow, it's a
Yeah.
relatively new drug.
What is that? What was that show? What was that thing that we have in Winnipeg once a year where it's like everyone comes together, they build their own act, and they
build their own what?
Well, it's like a playwright. Everyone like makes a playwright.
You're talking Fringe Festival.
Fringe Festival.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I saw this. I saw the only reason I know anything about what you're going to talk about here is LSD is because I saw a play from the Fringe Fest
About LSD?
about LSD and how it came to be.
Oh, about Albert Hoffman?
About Albert
that's
Hoffman.
awesome.
Yeah, it was
That's
super
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, Albert Hoffman, he's a famous Swiss scientist. Yeah, as I said, he discovered it in 1938, basically by accident. He was working with a fungus known as ergot, which you may remember from the Salem witch trials. Now, the Salem witch trials was a time when there was a lot of what they thought were witches. People were...
The amount of death that happened in that was crazy.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people died. People were claiming people were witches and that they were casting spells on them. Basically, a lot of weird shit. And they didn't know what to blame it on. So, of course, they blamed it on the woman, because, like, what else? And they thought they were witches.
It's got to be just women. Like,
Yeah, of course. Women
shit,
are witches.
nothing's changed from then till now,
Yeah.
right?
It's basically the same thing. Well, yeah, they burned a bunch of people, killed a lot of people. The trials, I think about 20 people, including a few children. Now, this was in 1600s, like 1692, 1693.
Well, I didn't realize it was that far back.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
It doesn't even seem long when you talk about witches. I mean, you say like witches now. You're like,
like 06 is what
Yeah.
you're like. It's just 06 0006.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, I thought you meant 2006. Yeah, his witch is like 10 years ago.
That shit's normal, man. I fucking
We burnt them
Googled
all
it.
last year.
I googled shit. Yeah, there's no witches anymore. We took care of them
Took care
all.
of
The
problem.
Great
Yeah.
Witch Hunt.
Now that's some success
Some
right there.
called it a genocide.
Sometimes they come out in cosplay, but
Oh, God. Yeah, so it turns out that what these people were actually experiencing is the rye that they had grown this certain type of mold called ergot, which turns out is very hallucinogenic and very similar to LSD. In fact, they created LSD from ergot.
So you're saying that the rye that the people would have that would give them the LSD effect,
Yes, because of the
Essentially.
mold on it.
and then they would blame these people for being witches who gave it to them, or
These people ate this rye, or drank, whatever, and then they got extremely fucked up, and they thought someone was putting a curse on them.
Okay,
Because
so
they were
that's where
having
the
convulsions, what people would
Yeah.
refer to as, like,
outer body experiences and like a
or
lot
like
of the
what they
color
attribute to
changes and stuff.
demons and stuff like that.
I could see that from LSD for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's technically not from LSD.
I
but
watched
it's
Beavis and Butthead do
LSD's
America.
Yeah.
I know how this
Similar to
works.
LSD.
I got my research.
I've done my research. So yeah, that's where LSD came from.
Oh, tell the
Originally.
bicycle story though.
Well, I'm getting there.
Okay.
So, while researching acid, Hoffman he basically he accidentally ingested some because LSD is extremely potent. It's active in the micrograms.
Oh wow.
So there's 1,000 micrograms in a milligram. There's 1,000 milligrams in a gram.
Thanks for doing that for me.
Yes.
Yeah, I
you
would
gotta
not
talk to
have known that.
You know I was gonna ask.
Well, there's Americans. There's people who use freedom units.
Freedom units.
That's what they're called.
Freedom everything.
Yeah, we use communist units, I believe.
Is that-
That's what
Is,
they're
is
called.
that what it is?
Yeah, you never learned that?
No,
Oh, okay. Well,
I did know.
so he accidentally dosed himself, and he experienced really profound effects. He didn't really know what was happening. He realized afterwards he saw kaleidoscopes, all sorts of weird colors. And then eventually he decided that, a couple days later, he decided that this was a very interesting chemical and that he should purposely do it himself. So he ingested 200 micrograms, which is roughly 2 tabs, depending on the dosage, but the average tab is 60 to 120 micrograms, depending on quality.
Christ.
That's not that much.
No, it doesn't seem like that much, but like he did 200 for the first time that he's ever done this.
The
right?
first
That's
time
2
anyone's
tabs.
ever
Well, yeah,
done
that's what
it.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like 2 tabs
You
is
wanna
the
try
first
it.
hit.
Yeah, and then
First real hit.
he did that and just went on a bicycle ride and said it was the most amazing time of his life.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's where the term Bicycle Day comes from, which is April 19th.
Okay.
So-
was this the day he actually did this? Is that where they get the
Yeah, that is
day
the
from?
first time anyone ever purposefully dosed themselves with LSD.
Okay, I'm gonna ask this.
April
because
19th, 1943.
What's like a tab? Okay, like I've never done LSD. I've
Okay,
never
so
done
here's-
is acid the street term for it?
Yeah,
There's
acid
a-
LSD.
I do know this one a little bit. I know
Microdose.
that there was a bit of a case back in the 60s. I can't remember who it was, but a bunch of hippies got busted for having a large amount of acid. But they didn't. They weighed the sugar cubes that the acid was on. So a hit is just a small, usually like a piece of paper is what it's absorbed in, right?
Well, there's several different ways, but yeah, that's
like,
blotter
so it's
acid.
absorbed in there.
Okay.
And that's what they take as their tab. So they take this thing, they put it in, they let it dissolve. People in the 60s used to take this and put it on a sugar cube, and they let the sugar cube
okay,
dissolve.
yeah.
So police would bust these people, get these sugar cubes, and weigh the entire sugar cube as a hit of
And
acid.
counted. Oh, okay. I
So
see.
a lot of
Yeah.
people went to basically jail for almost life because of
Wow.
sugar cubes, not because of the acid that they had. They said that they had all this acid, but it was like just a couple hits on sugar cubes.
Basically, how this works, if you had one hit of acid on a sugar cube and they weighed that out, that's about a gram. They would bust you for a gram of acid.
Wow.
A gram of pure crystal LSD, because in its purest form, it's a crystal substance. That's 1,000,000 hits.
Wow.
Yeah, so like you do not have that. If you touch that, you would trip out for days.
Can you die?
We'll get to that later on.
Okay.
No, you basically no. The short answer is
Why did
no.
you say basically?
With
no?
that-
Yeah,
with
there's
a slight
still basically
Wait, hold
not
on.
die. There's either you die or you
I'm
don't.
not talking
It's a
like you
slight
take it and you
disclaimer.
like jump out your window. I'm talking like can like you overdose, is
Okay.
what I'm trying to say.
Well, we'll get into the overdoses.
Okay.
There's been a couple. You wouldn't even really call them overdoses. There's what's called the LD50, which is the lethal dose for 50% of the population. So, I don't know the specifics off my head, but let's go with fentanyl. The LD50 of fentanyl is, I would say, roughly 2 milligrams. So if I gave 2 milligrams to 10 people, 5 of them would die, because that's just too much. And this is not acid. This is something completely different. The LD50 for acid is roughly, they don't have an exact, but they say roughly 0.3, or roughly, 0.3 milligrams per kilogram to 1.2 milligrams per kilogram. So that would mean you would have to ingest several milligrams to die. And still
which
there's
is like a shit ton.
yeah, there's very little evidence. The biggest on record acid doses, it was either 4 or 8 people, but this is like there's actual in science textbooks. They found or had what they thought was cocaine, but was actually crystallized LSD.
Oh wow.
Ooh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, they each took 2 lines each, is what they said.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is a crazy
Oh my
amount.
gosh.
Like, to the point where you probably wouldn't be able to move. Now, all of them were hospitalized. They had severe convulsions. They believed that the respiratory system would have failed if they had not been hospitalized.
Wow.
So they very well could have died. And I believe some of them had internal bleeding.
There's not crazy cases though of people dying from LSD.
No one's ever died from the drug itself.
Okay.
It's from the actions of using the drug, right?
Yeah.
That
You,
people have
you
passed.
can do way too much, and sure, that increases your chances of
Yeah.
something fucked up happening, because
Right.
there's not a lot of
It's like anything, I guess,
studies
right?
on super
Sure.
high doses.
Yeah.
There is, however, something called a thumbprint, which is where you take a little bit of crystal LSD, which is something most people will never see in their lifetime. And you put a little bit on your thumb, and then you lick that off.
Oh, okay.
That is around like 1,000 micrograms, so that's a massive dose. That's like 10 tabs.
Jesus.
And
Okay.
people who have done that experience basically total loss of ego, loss of not consciousness, but basically it was a DMT trip. Everything was fractals. They were spread across the universe, and that much would last for days.
Jesus Christ, I couldn't imagine that
Oh,
shit. Like,
sounds terrible.
From what I understood, the DMT is a very short trip, but
Yeah.
it feels like for fucking ever.
Yeah. Okay.
This still
So
feels like
imagine,
forever.
yeah, well,
This
it's
is-
fucking days of forever.
Oh my god. So question.
You don't come back the same person, is what I'm thinking. Like,
Probably not.
Yeah. Like
Definitely
you're
not.
out. Yeah. So 1 tab. How much is 1 tab again? Let's be clear.
Like
Like if I said I was doing a hit.
100 micrograms is what I would call it.
what's our lasting time
100
on that?
mic. Yeah. Exactly. How long does this high last for? If I was to take that much.
If you've never done acid, 4 to 12, not 40, 12. 4 to 12 hours.
It's a long fucking time to
Yeah.
be high.
Yeah,
It's
12
a
hours.
shit,
Time
man.
to be high.
I've been like, I used to smoke
It's like
pot. I would
committing a
smoke a
day.
joint 4 hour, like a really good fucking hit, like really good pot. 4 hours later, I'm taking like 6 showers. I'm going for walks. I just want to
6
get this
showers?
shit fucking done. Like I'm
I'm
done with
over
this.
being-
I'm done. I just want to go to bed. And you know, like I've been that like not that's an exaggeration, but seriously though, I've had like been stoned too long, and I'm just like, okay, enough. I'm
I had
done.
that with edibles, not when I smoke.
Yeah.
Right, edibles, you
I'm
can't.
just
You
like,
can't
alright,
really
I'm
do it.
over this. I want
Yeah,
my leg to
I'm
move
over
again.
this. Coffee,
Pretty powerful shit.
coffee and food will help with that.
Coffee, yeah.
Pro
I really
tip.
coffee.
There has been a bigger dose that was given to an elephant.
Is this
Oh my
scientifically, or
This is like,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
first
Or the
just some
Guinness.
fucking stoners like, hey, come here, buddy.
I know I'm gonna get in the Guinness World Book of World Records. eh?
Dosing an elephant.
Yeah, exactly. Most dose,
Well,
biggest dose ever gave.
When was this? In the 60s. Yeah, this is when LSD was still popular,
poor
being
elephants.
researched. You could buy research chemicals and make LSD if you had a lab. Basically, there was a theory that, well, these elephants produce, at a certain time, they produce this weird, like, goo around their temples, and it causes them to act really weird and really aggressively. I looked into this once, but apparently they thought that if they gave enough acid to an elephant that they could induce this to happen.
Oh, okay.
So they ended up giving, let's see here, 290.
Gonna make your eyes bleed, bitch.
Fucking Dumbo, man. You feel so bad for you.
His name was Tusco.
Tusco. I was close enough.
Oh, God.
They gave him 297 milligrams.
Wow.
So that's 1,000 times.
Wow.
That's several. That's more than 1,000 times the average what you would recommend dose.
Christ. Okay.
I mean, obviously, you gotta take the body size and weight
Yeah,
and stuff into
exactly.
account, yeah.
Well, it's going to take a difference, right? Like, especially something as big as an elephant. Like, an elephant is at least.
Maybe like a ton. Half a
Well,
ton.
they're usually about
But where does
10,000.
it trigger, though? Like, does it
Somewhere
matter
around
on your
10,000 pounds.
size? I don't know.
Because
if
it's
it would
like a
matter on
brain
your
thing,
size.
right?
Yeah,
Like-
that's, yeah.
No, it matters on your size
does,
because
yeah.
that has to do with your metabolism and
Right,
how
right,
fast you
right.
break down
Sure.
the drug.
Right.
All right, fair enough. I don't know. Like, okay, so
It's still a fuck ton.
yeah, it's a lot of fucking acid. So,
Yeah.
so
That
what was
could've
the
gotten
results
so
of
many
said
hippies
elephant?
high. He freaked the fuck out.
Turns out 1,000
really
milligrams
bad
of
idea.
Does something.
1,000 hits of acid will fuck up an elephant. We know this.
yeah.
You know what? Science. Click. Done.
Done.
Okay, we don't need to research this anymore.
Well, they ended up having to sedate the elephant and give him like massive doses of benzos.
Yeah, the coffee and food.
Yeah.
Just take it all.
I'll be getting 4 to 12 hours.
Yes, here you go. Here's some fucking 24-hour
Play
energy.
some
You're good.
acoustic
Fucking
guitar.
just got in a circle with 4 other elephants and started singing hippie
things
music. It was
were
fucking
fine.
great. Things were
No.
good for him for like a week.
It died. It died.
Actually?
Oh
Seriously?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Jeez, eh?
wow, way to take it down.
joke about
fucking-
it for that long?
I had to.
Why did you wait?
I just had to do that.
Now I feel bad about
Tusky
making fun
died?
of Tusky.
Poor Tusco.
Tusco.
But there's no evidence that he died from the acid. It was probably.
I think there's good evidence that he died from the acid.
He was fine. He was just a little angry and
Oh my
a
god.
little bit tramply.
Oh
But
my
other than that,
How do you say that?
no,
There's
they
no evidence.
they believe
Okay, he was alive. Then we gave him
He
1,000
died the next
hits of
day.
acid, and then he died. It wasn't the acid
You know
for
what?
sure.
He ate some grass that day. That could have been fucking.
Let me
shit.
explain.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
One of the ways to get rid of an acid trip is benzodiazepines.
Death.
Death. Yeah, that might help.
That definitely stops.
Yeah, we're gonna end this here.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay,
you
I'm sorry.
enjoyed your
I'm sorry.
life.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Go
so benzo what?
Yeah, benzodiazepines,
Okay.
like Xanax, anything like that. So they give him a massive dose of that as well,
Hmm.
and they believe that is what killed him.
And the silence hit the room.
I see you guys don't believe that is what killed him. That is what scientists
No,
believe.
yeah. It's the drug that tried to counteract.
I'm pretty sure.
the
Yeah, I'm
other
pretty
drug.
sure.
Well,
it
I'm
was the
sure.
mixture
I'm
of
sure
the
it was
two.
the big mixture. Yeah.
Jesus.
That is too funny.
Ugh.
Well,
Wow.
it's not funny.
And that's-
So it's sad and funny at the same time.
Okay, and that's not even the best LSD laboratory story there is.
I don't know. That one's hitting
I don't want to hear
top.
another one. I don't know if I'm ready for
I
another
think
one
we're
today.
good for
Too
this
many
one.
animals died. Save it for next week.
Oh shit! My question was like, because we are talking about the dosages that people can take, right? And like where it should be is this is the same thing as like opiates and stuff. You build an immunity with this, right? Like the one person that takes 1 hit of acid is not going to need 1 hit of acid every time he gets high. Eventually, he's going to need 2 or 3, right? Is that not how this works?
If you take basically the general consensus is if you take 1 hit of acid today and you want to get high tomorrow, you need to double your dose.
Now, is there a cool-off period?
Yes,
That you can bring it back down to 1, or
Yes, it builds an immediate tolerance, but that'll be gone within a week.
okay. Next question, very simple one. I'm sure this is myth, but I just want to hear it because I've always heard it as a kid is that it builds in the bottom of your spine. Is this true?
Nope, not whatsoever.
Okay, I've heard that before, where
heard
it builds
that
in,
too.
and you can
You've
have
also heard
re-trips, right?
It causes holes in your brain. Not true whatsoever.
I haven't heard that one. I've only
that
heard the
was-
building in the bottom of the spine.
That was a big thing when I was kids. People are like, 1 hit of acid and you have a loony-sized hole in your brain. 4 hits, you can't fly an airplane. None of that is true.
Oh shit! Well, I guess I can fly an
Well, there
airplane.
goes my pilot license.
No, you can still fly.
Oh, everything you just can't fly it. So
I got a question. Is that okay? What's the benefits? Okay, of
There are
dropping acid.
many benefits.
Go.
Uh,
Sell me
well,
on LSD.
Not
yes.
not only is it some people believe it's a lot of fun.
Convince me to take 1,000 tabs of LSD. I'm sorry.
Convince me to dose my elephants.
I'm gonna join Tusky.
Okay.
Well, LSD, there are being studies done, well, there have been studies years ago, but now they are currently doing more studies through the MAPS Foundation, and I believe Johns Hopkins University was doing some. It has great, just like with mushrooms, it has great potential effects for end-of-life people, like someone who believes they're going to die and they're not comfortable with it. This could make you...
Like ease.
Yeah, it'll ease you into it.
Just live with it.
Yeah, there's also... People say it helps rewire the brain. Like what I said with ecstasy and post-traumatic stress, that can also apply to LSD. It'll show you things in your mind that were basically suppressed and that you didn't necessarily think about. It'll also show you different ways of thinking that are not so egocentric, where everything's about you. It can show you that this is more of a universal thing and that you are kind of one with everything.
Oh, cool.
I have a question, and it's going to get a little dark with the question, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I've experienced it firsthand. I know with cocaine, I had a friend that dormant within himself was schizophrenia, and when he took cocaine, that snapped it out. That brought it straight to surface. Is this something that could be a fear with an LSD as well?
That is always a risk with any kind of psychoactive drug. That could even be the case with weed.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Mind you, when they were studying it in the 60s and 70s, one of the reasons doctors were using it is because they thought it could basically illustrate what someone who had schizophrenia was going through. And that's kind of an accurate description, not necessarily.
I've heard that schizophrenia is like somebody screaming, like you're trying to scream at everybody, but nobody's listening to you.
Kinda. It's usually diagnosed by having voices in your head that you don't believe are yours. Which, sure, that can happen on enough acid.
Yeah.
But, yeah, light doses of acid, you're just gonna get a lot of visuals. Things are fractal. They'll kind of bend. You'll get really giggly, stuff like that. But you can notice really good effects of like looking back on past memories.
Do you get benefits from?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's like your best benefit that you've gotten from it?
It really helped me think of the world in a different way. I became more connected with other things besides people, I guess. I don't know. I felt less of a person in a body. Like, I felt like less that this was who I am,
felt
this
like an
physical
entity,
body.
almost?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like this is my meat bag, and there's something more controlling it. And
Yeah,
then,
it almost becomes spiritual.
yeah, it's a very spiritual drug.
Okay.
And some people just like to take a couple hits and fucking get naked and dance around a festival for a few days.
Those are my
like-
A
favorite.
lot of people do.
Yeah,
I like those festivals.
You
They're
see
good
those?
festivals.
What's
You
that
see
one
those at
called?
every festival.
That one in the desert.
Oh, you're talking,
I
God,
should
Burning
know
Man.
this.
Burning Man.
Burning Man's. I really want to go to Burning Man.
Hey, one day, man. One day,
One day
we'll
you
get
get
there.
naked and run down.
Yeah,
You can get naked and feed an elephant a whole bunch of fucking tabs.
that's the plan.
That'd be great.
That's
Sunflower
what makes me
stickers on your
successful.
nipples.
Let's name this one Tusky too.
Let's get Tusky high.
Questions. One, you talk about a euphoric trip that you can have. I've always heard about, because I've never done acid, and I clearly have at least a little bit of experience with this. Bad trips. What brings that on? What is a bad trip when somebody gets it versus what the good trips are, where you kind of like have these euphoric experiences?
There's always a potential for a bad trip with any sort of psychedelic. One of the main ways to prevent that is set and setting. Be with someone you trust. Be somewhere where you're safe. You feel safe. And another one is embrace it. If you see a ghost, run into it head first. Never fucking just run away. You need to embrace it. If you try and fight it, it will get worse. I have never had a bad LSD trip, but I have had a bad mushroom trip. And LSD and mushrooms are kind of similar. And the more you fight it, the worse it's going to get. The moment you go, okay, this is happening, I'm just going to have to go with it, then things will start to calm down and subside.
That's kind of cool. And I never really thought of it like that, like a way to get out. Because I've had a bad mushroom trip.
A lot of people view things like mushrooms and psychedelics and LSD as a tool. Not necessarily that it's going to give you everything you need, but it's something that should be worked with, say, psychotherapy, where you're talking to someone. This could open up different parts of you and different ways of thinking that normally you wouldn't necessarily access.
Does that not scare you?
Cool.
Of course it scares me, but that's the discovery I'm looking for. That's what interests me, is exploring deep down in myself and finding shit I never knew.
Nice.
Another question. Flashbacks. How does that work? What is that? I'm sure you have. Have you experienced these? I'm assuming not, because it tends to happen later in life. If you do you have any information on it?
There's several arguments about it. I'm not all up to date. Some people believe they happen. Some people believe they don't necessarily happen, and they're just endogenous chemicals.
Okay.
I'm kind of... it's really hard to say. I've had times where I was like, wow, this is weird. This feels similar to acid or something. People say it can happen when you go on an airplane. But again, that could all be psychosomatic. There hasn't been a lot of evidence.
Is it almost like triggering a memory? Kind of like, when you hear an old song you haven't heard since you were 4, but all of a sudden...
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
Same sort of deal. So it's not necessarily about getting the drug again. It's reliving that moment because
basically
something has reminded you.
Basically,
I never thought of it like that. I always thought of it like, and that's where that like build up in the base of the spine thing that I heard was from. Is like it can reissue from that. Now, I mean, you're saying that's not true, which is fine.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, so but that's what I always heard was where the getting a flashback on those type of things kind of came from. So
yeah.
So yeah, so more like building a memory or refreshing a memory, like smelling that smell that you remember when you were 5, but it just triggers that memory all of a sudden.
Yeah,
or hearing that song, that's what does it for me. Usually, is hearing a song. Like
that's what I would
a moment in my life.
So in this, so most acid you will find today is on what is called blotter paper, which is a piece of paper perforated into squares, sometimes triangles, usually 1 inch by 1 inch. One of those is one hit, and people will take crystal LSD and they will mix it down into a solution. Sometimes you can buy that solution where it will be like 100 milligrams per milliliter, and you can just take that. But that's kind of rare.
So just like a drop?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So professional chemists will it's called laying the acid, where you put the hits on the paper, and then once that dries, then you can resell it.
Who's these professional chemists that make these?
People.
Like, who makes LSD?
Right now, I would say it's mostly being made by people who have degrees in chemistry, and just
You'd have to, right?
Yeah, and just said, I want to help the world by producing LSD.
Is it hard to find? Is it hard to get?
Relatively, depends where you are.
Yeah.
I've always heard in our area, or at least in the city, it isn't too bad. At least back when I was younger. It may have changed since then.
Yeah, it comes around festivals, I would say.
Yeah, more like, well, that's where the money is for them to sell it too,
exactly.
Right? They're going to want to sell a lot more at those type of situations.
Now, one of the most popular, well, it was around the 70s, forms of acid was called orange sunshine acid. Now, this goes into what you were talking about, who makes it. These two guys, they were both chemists, and they decided that they were going to start this group and start making and distributing acid, because they thought it would help the world, it would change the world, make everyone better, open everyone's mind. These guys were able to produce, it was around 200 kilos of crystal LSD.
Wow.
That's a lot of fucking LSD.
Which is several 100 million hits. And this was all distributed. And that was just like one batch they did. It's 750 million doses.
Wow.
Is 200 kilos of
Were they
acid.
just trying to break a Guinness World Record? Like, what the fuck were they
They were trying to get... They said... what they believed is that there was a decent possibility that 250 million people would try acid. So they made 250 million hits of acid.
Wow, so they wanted everyone who was accepting to do it.
In these days, it was in these little orange tablets that people called orange sunshine. Again, people used to make it in a liquid and then drop it on ice cubes, stuff like that.
That's the way that I always kind of heard, is like ice cubes. So something that like dissolves slowly.
The thing is, not any person can lay acid. Like it's
Because of the science, right? Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not-
I've watched
Not-
Breaking Bad. I understand.
not even just
crystal
making
meth.
acid. But
Yeah, it is crystal meth, but it's still science, damn it.
Science.
But this shit is so potent that, like, if you're in a lab producing acid, there's no way you're not gonna get high. Like, even if you're in, like, a hazmat suit.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
Yeah, like, these people were high, like, constantly when they were doing
So
this.
they just built up enough of being like this state all the time that they could just function through it?
Yeah, basically.
Jesus
So, like,
Christ.
aside from, like, the mental factors involved with it, like, you're, like, it's got to be some harm to your body. Like, what does it do? When you take it, what does it do to get, like, how do you, how do you get high? Does it release some dopamine? Is it, like, what,
With every good, there's got to be a bad.
like, what, how,
there's gotta be some sort of
there
balance.
hasn't been a lot of evidence of physical damage being caused by it.
okay.
There may be some evidence of mental damage, like you said, with people who already are possibly going to have schizophrenia down the line. That may trigger it.
Right.
There was a lot of propaganda back in the day where it would say dose of acid would just make you go insane.
That's
No,
not what
that
I've
was,
always heard.
that's how it was
That's-
with reefer too.
Yeah,
Back when
reefer
reefer
meth.
was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that was like, have a hit of weed and you're gonna kill
Your
your
life's
family. It
over,
was
you're
like
gonna
something
murder
that they,
everyone.
yeah.
But the people spreading that knew that wasn't true. The LSD was tested in the military. MK Ultra, they used a lot of acid testing.
Yeah, I've heard this one before.
They would dose random people that didn't even know they were getting dosed with insane amounts, like hundreds of micrograms or thousands of micrograms, and they just had no idea, and they would dose them and watch them.
Talk about putting them in a bad setting. You know what I mean?
fuck,
Where you're
yeah.
Right in war?
It's the worst thing you could do for
No
someone.
kidding.
This was during the Gulf War. They were initially trying to develop it as a bomb that they could disperse over a crowd, but it was too hard to control the dosage. So they just and it would a lot of people enjoyed the effects.
It's like, let's bomb them with happy.
Yeah, so they're just like, all right, well, fucking napalm.
There's a lot of weird bombs that I've heard have happened throughout the time. I've never heard an LSD bomb. That's new to me. Never heard that one. I've heard
No, me either.
I think I heard a gay bomb at one point.
Yeah,
they
gay
tried-
bomb.
Yeah, they tried getting
Bomb
a
was
gay
turning
bomb.
around frogs gay with chemicals.
That's
So ridiculous.
From a YouTube channel I watch.
oh shit. Okay, I got a couple questions. I've always heard these drugs, never knew of them, and what type of relation do they have to acid? One is mescaline, the other one is peyote.
Same drug.
Exact same drug?
Not as LSD, sorry. Mescaline and peyote are the same.
Are the same? Okay.
Peyote is a cactus.
From the cactus, right?
Mescaline is the drug, the actual drug that comes from the flower of the cactus.
So, is this relatively the same trip as an acid trip? Because that's what I've kind of heard.
It's comparable. I believe mescaline's not really as intense and more... I don't know. I don't have a lot have experience with
Functional?
mescaline. Yeah.
Do you have any experience with mescaline?
No.
Yeah, okay, I was going to say, like,
How many?
I don't have
That-
much.
Not much.
Or
I've only
none.
done it
I do it
100
once a
times.
week. Yeah.
Like, I always
Twice a
heard
week
that
max.
these were, like, kind of the same sort of deals, like, and anytime they're represented in any type of media,
movies, yeah.
movies and stuff, it always seems to be the exact same idea as acid.
They're
So,
close.
It just seems like more of, like, a natural style acid.
Mescaline's not nearly as long, though. Peyote can last for days.
Jesus. Okay,
Strap in for a weekend.
let's do this.
Now, there's one more story I want to get into before we end this. Well, if you have any more questions, I'll take those too.
Nope,
We're gonna have a
you
million
go.
questions
That was
forever,
it.
so you
That
can
was
go.
all.
The scientist John Lilly. An amazing man. There's a bunch of amazing people who have created or done amazing things with acid. Not that I think he's amazing, but Steve Jobs. He was inspired by acid. I hate Steve Jobs, but
I was just going to say, where are we going with this? Because
Yeah,
you
no.
hate that man.
I just had to bring that up.
Okay.
I will still piss on his grave.
Okay.
John,
Everybody's got goals.
that's when I'll be successful.
That's success. Yeah.
John Lilly was a guy who created, well, he was a scientist, but he was also the man who created the isolation tanks and isolation therapy. Which, if you don't know what that is where you go, you're in warm, well, exactly the same
72 degrees. Same as your body
yeah, the same.
temperature.
You're in water that is filled with salt, so you float. That is the same temperature as your body. The point of that is you're not going to feel where the water is and where your body is. You're supposed to have no sensation. So he pioneered that.
And you're like in a tank, an enclosed tank with
Yeah,
no
this is
Some
light
shit
whatsoever.
that you can actually go and experience
Yeah,
now if
yeah.
you wanted to.
You can go to
I've done it.
they're
There's a place in
here.
Winnipeg.
Really?
Yeah, it's really
Isolation tanks.
good. It's really good for.
It's supposed
especially
to
when
really-
you're
like a
in your
meditation
house.
almost.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. It detaches your mind from your body.
Yeah. I will
Because
have
you
to
won't
try
be able
this.
to feel your
Let's make it a
Yeah.
fucking week, like a day. We'll all go and fucking
I wanna do
suspend
it,
ourselves.
yeah.
People have reported having psychedelic trips in those
Mm-hmm.
from doing nothing.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
At least try it.
So he also was obsessed with dolphins and how they communicated. So he put together this experiment where I believe it was in an apartment. It might have been a house. That sounds a bit more realistic. But he flooded the whole thing with about 3 feet of water, and he had his research assistant live there. And he had a dolphin in the water, in the apartment.
Hold on, a dolphin lived in 3 feet of water?
It might have been 5 feet, but there was a dolphin like in a house just living, swimming around.
What?
Yeah, this is an actual experiment.
Okay.
There's
He's trying to see if he can get
documents
communication between the human and the dolphin.
on. Yes, how
Oh,
he
wow.
did it was they took acid and went in the isolation tank and trying to communicate with the dolphin.
Wow.
Yeah. So he did that for a while, and then his assistant was noticing that the dolphin was having some troubles focusing. Dolphins are very horny animals by nature. You may have
Yeah,
heard
they're
they like to
the
rape
only
things
animal that I've heard has sex
for
for pleasure,
other than
other than
Yeah.
other than reproduction.
They've been known to rape things as well. Rape fish.
Like another human? Is that what happens? Is this where the story's going?
A little bit.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I was joking.
No. The woman
I already heard about an elephant dying, right?
The research
Dolphin
assistant
getting raped.
decided it was a good idea to relieve the tension of the dolphin to masturbate him.
Okay.
Yeah, so she would do that. And apparently this happened a bunch. And eventually word got out that there was
That she was beating
Some
off a
crazy
dolphin?
lady
well on
jerking off.
acid in an apartment full of water. So they didn't like that, and they pulled the funding for the studies, and that was the end.
What
of
were they
that.
trying to get?
Where was PETA?
what-
Where was PETA?
Hey, the dolphin enjoyed it. He didn't
What did they
leave.
get out of all this? Like,
Yeah, trying to
other than they
communicate
jerked
with
off a
dolphins.
dolphin.
no, I know what they tried. Did they get anything from this, or was this
That-
just some
no.
sick experiment
So,
that ended up failing? They jerked off a dolphin for a few weeks.
Check one off for science on this one.
Oh my God.
We took acid and whacked off a dolphin for a week.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. It was a good time, though.
Good
Research. That was research. That's fucked up.
That's how science
That
is
is
done.
fucked up.
Wow.
That is fucked up.
Okay. I don't even know where to fucking transition from that. Normally
There's
I
not
can
much
come
of
up
a way.
There's a lot of great stories behind
Jesus. Man, dude, I can't wait to hear some of you. Tune in the next couple weeks. I'm sure we're going to get some
You're
interesting
just
ones.
an endless book.
I love this shit, man. I love this shit.
I'm
People-
really interested in drugs and computers. and
Jerking
studying
off fucking
drugs.
dolphins.
Love
and
it.
Killing elephants with acid.
Yeah, what else are you gonna do?
It wasn't the acid. Ed.
A lot.
Oh, yeah, I forgot it wasn't the acid. It wasn't the 10 pounds of
Don't
acid.
mistake
It was that little thing that
Was
tried
the
to get him
hits.
down off
yeah,
the acid.
Yeah, it's the thing to counteract the acid. Get it right.
All right, boys. I'm gonna. Normally, I kind of like I have a upbeat, some sort of like nostalgic thing when I talk about stuff. This time's not so much nostalgic. Recently, in my past, I had not necessarily a close friend of mine, but a friend of mine passed away. He was 24 years old, really young. Died of diabetes. So in his apartment, he basically passed away because he wasn't eating properly, wasn't taking care of himself, and this was an issue that he'd always had. So we all, like everybody that knew him, kind of knew this was going to happen at some point. So it wasn't a shock when I found out that he had passed away.
Wow.
So I knew this was happening. Just the only shocking part was for me was that he was 24 years old. That's such a young age, and doing something so just self-destructive. To what you need to do. Anybody with diabetes, that they know what they have to do to keep themselves going. Every single one.
It's a habit. It's an addiction, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to do this. So he passes away. I go to the funeral, and it was a hard thing for me to do because it was with a lot of it was part of a past family I was part of. So I had to kind of sit with them, but I was going through my own emotions, and this was somebody that I didn't necessarily feel like I had much of an attachment to, until I sat there with him, or sat in that room, and it was his casket. So I went through the whole proceedings. I was crying. I was upset, and it wasn't until the very end that everybody got their chance to stand up. slowly move their way towards the coffin, and they get to pay the last respects, and then kind of turn around and talk to the family and say sorry.
Right.
So this was new to me. I've always done like other types of funerals. Like I've never really kind of been in an open casket funeral, so it was a little weird for me. So I walk up to it, and I sit there and I see this lifeless body. And I remember him in such like lifelike states and things that he would do, but he was sitting there like this, and his hands, and this is the thing I'll never forget, because it had been a couple days before they found him in the apartment, so he had already, like, he's in rigor mortis at this point. His hands were like thin and dry. Not to be like weird or anything, but it almost looked like beef jerky, like these spaces in between the thumb and the finger. Stuff like it looked really weird to me, and I saw this, and it was really, really, really upsetting. I left there. I walked up.
Just because dehydration.
That happens to everybody.
Yeah, everybody. This happens, and especially if it took a couple days for them to find the body.
I went to a morgue when I was 14 for Take Your Kid to Work Day.
Man, you're fucked up. Jesus Christ.
I'll have to go into it more.
You want to go to a friend's dad's job?
But I saw a corpse that had been in. They hadn't found it for a couple weeks. And basically
That's
what
it
you
looked like.
described. Completely leathery. It looked like a mummy.
It looks really weird.
Eyes dried completely out.
This was somebody I knew in life. Like, I knew him, like...
Yeah, that must have been hard.
Played games with him and stuff. So I walked up and I saw this, and I saw it was very hard. So I walked out of that place, and it fucked me for a little while. Like, I was stuck in my head of... This is how I remember him now. It's not me playing games with him and joking around with him throughout the time. Yeah. It's him sitting in this casket looking all dried up and weird and like it was such a trip to me. So my topic is, and again, a little dark, sorry about this, but I have to, and it's been on my mind for a while, is what do you want done to you when you die? What type of legacy do you want to make for yourself? And how do you want to get there before you get there?
Well, yeah, okay. I've talked, it's funny because I've actually talked to my mom about this too. My mom does not like, here's me being Mr. Positive again on this.
Don't worry, Albert.
Turns, you just loop the death thing around to being positive. You can do this.
I can figure it out. My mom, she like doesn't like traveling. Like she doesn't really like getting on a plane, but she loves it once she's at the destination. So like once she gets there, she's always having a good time. But like the flight and the fact of traveling and setting the time aside, like she just like all of it just seems like too much, and she doesn't like doing it. And so she hasn't really been in much places aside from Canada. Like she's done a lot of the West Coast, and sometimes we've gone to the States. Like we went to LA, I think, together, California, and then Mexico a few times. But she always talks about like when she's there, she loves the experience she gets out of it. So what I've told her, what I wanted to do when I die, is I want to be cremated, because the whole body thing, right? Like I don't. So I want to be cremated, and I want her to take my ashes, and I told her I wanted her to dump them in the Indian Ocean. So like somewhere like foreign, you know what I mean? Like it's gonna and if that's my death wish, she's gonna have to feel obligated to do. Hopefully, it's not my mom doing it, right? Like I hope that's never the situation. Like,
yeah, it should. Of course, nobody needs to see their kids die.
But whoever is responsible of taking care of me after I pass away, or taking care of what's left, is I want them to go on some kind of trip. I'm gonna leave them, so they have to. If it's my dying wish, maybe drop me off in somewhere they've never been, right? Whoever I guess I'm closest to at the time right now was my mom, right? But somewhere they've always talked about going, but have never had the opportunity to go to. When I pass away, I'm gonna make sure that they take my ashes, and that's where I'm requesting where they have to go dump in the Indian Ocean, so they have to take this trip for themselves. In order to get my last dying wish in.
Don't ask me, because I've already just said earlier in this podcast I'm lazy. I'm going to take you to the Tandoori hut down the fucking road. I'm just going to put you in the garden.
You're going to feel like shit forever. Put Indian on a side.
Done.
You better be careful with what you wish, because I believe this is a legally binding contract now.
Yeah,
it's a verbal contract now.
Yeah, this is true. But no, I think that's a great thing to get.
Like make someone, whoever's responsible, to go have to take me on their own self-adventure. Like get them out of whatever they're doing, and they have to take an adventure.
So make them put you
it's
in
almost like
4 different
full,
spots.
Yeah, like totally. That circle of life sort of deal.
Yeah, totally.
I've done this in my life, now you have to do this.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Me.
This is what I got out
solid.
of it. You're doing it for me now. You're doing it for yourself, and I'm forcing you to do it. It's like
mine ties in with that a little bit.
Okay.
So slightly less positive.
All right. Throw me out in the garbage.
Well, dig a fucking ditch, take my clothes off, and throw me in there.
Aaron,
Why do you want the clothes off?
Why do
you need the clothes off? What is the
itch?
purpose?
I like
Do you want us
being
to
nude.
slip some acid underneath there?
No, I'm 100% serious. I said this to my mom the other day, and she just gave me that look. And she's like, Aaron, you're an asshole. And I was like, what? It's a fucking corpse. Who cares? But no, I believe that. When you pump someone full of chemicals and you put them in a hole in a box, they sit there for years. They hardly ever disintegrate. That's not
mummify.
natural at all.
Normally mummify, yeah.
What used to happen is someone would die, they'd be like, Jimbo's dead, leave him for the wolves. The wolves would come and fucking eat him.
1600 Jimbo.
Jimbo Bereave, I don't know what it... Josiah.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, but they would die. Animals would come and eat most of their body, like all the meat, and then their bones and everything else. The bugs would eat it, and then it would turn into whatever happens and become part of the earth. I think that's the most natural thing possible.
That's like atheism almost, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
That's
Yeah, that's like circle of life, right?
I think it's more
you become part of the
spiritual.
food chain.
Well, you know what? A really cool
I think it's giving
going
back
on
to
this,
the earth with what is it's provided.
You're gonna love
me.
this because there's actually things you can do. You can buy these planters. Have you heard of these?
I've heard of these, yeah.
Tree planters, where you can put like your remains in these planters, and you'll eventually grow into a tree.
See, I don't want to help out that much.
Like, I don't want to be that productive.
No, I just
It means I gotta grow. Ditch. Yeah, like I gotta
No, I
grow
mean,
and
literally
shit.
the
I just want
dump.
to be feed.
Oh my
throw me at the
gosh.
dump. No, there's also I found
Then
out.
you're one with the earth, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're in that whole network of.
I found out that's actually a thing. They're like green burials. There's a couple places
Yeah.
in Canada.
Yeah,
I was gonna
Yeah.
say I thought that you would have to do something very like particular to be able to do that. You
They
can't
have
just
to have
dump
a certain
body
law.
like
Yeah.
I can't
It's
drive you
illegal,
down
I
to the
think,
fucking halfway to the states and just open up the door and
This is what you wanted to buy.
see you later.
It's in my will.
Oh shit, we left the clothes on. We gotta go back.
I think that's against the
Dump me
law.
out of
I don't
there.
know if I'm allowed to just ditch a body somewhere. I think I have to do something.
I think you
with
become an
else.
accomplice at that point.
Yeah,
Like, that's-
yeah.
I'm pretty
I
sure.
might
anyway.
get some heat on me.
Yeah, just a little.
A little bit. Just drop me out of an airplane then.
So you just want to be one with the earth at the end of it.
Yeah, as hippie as that sounds, I really think
I
There's,
totally get that.
it's not
That-
even hippie. Like I just think that's a
That
good
ties
thing.
into mine, like you
funerals are
said,
just
right?
a ripoff, man.
It's just
Yeah.
money. It
Yeah,
really is.
the ties
People
into mine.
go-
Same thing.
people
I want to be a
go-
part of the earth afterwards. I
Yeah.
just want to be out there. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if I want to do that so much. Like I know at that funeral I realized like and then before then I was always like I don't like the thought of my body being burned. That freaked me out. I don't know why. Like
I
like
like to
I know
know I'm
I understand
buried.
I'm dead. I probably like like we don't know what happens in the afterlife, but assumably that part of me is no longer existent. So burning me not going to mean fuck at all.
Mm-hmm.
But to me in my head beforehand, I always thought that like that it was something that I don't know if I could deal with the thought of. After going to that funeral and that fucking my head up to the point that I like this is the only way I remember this guy. I don't want to put any of my friends or family through that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where I've kind of sat on this. And then, like I walked out of that and like I remember like crying in my car for like I don't know, like a half hour or so before I finally said fuck it and came home. Drove home, and as soon as I walked through the door and I walked up to my wife and I said, like I don't care what happens. All I know is don't let me be like in a casket. I don't want an open casket. I don't want a casket. I want to be burnt. I don't want people to see me after I'm dead, you included.
Well, I think that's why cremation is popular.
Yeah, it helps you. It helps people take that burden a little bit, I think. So
Well, like-
I've definitely gotten to the cremation part. Now there's a whole bunch of different alternatives. People can get crushed into stones and stuff with their ashes and
Oh,
stuff.
you can do that.
Yeah, you could. There's a company that will actually take your stones and pressurize you until you turn you into a stone. Yeah, it is kind of cool. The one that I've looked into that I think would be kind of cool is I want to take every influential song in my life, like pick about like 15 of them, and I want if I pass away before my wife, which honestly likely is probably what's going to happen, I want her to take like half of the songs and pick what I'm reminded of, like what she reminds me of with the songs, and I want to get pressed into a vinyl record for her.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, that's
I've heard of that
pretty cool.
too.
Yeah, so I think that'd be kind of cool to do something like that for her, or for myself even. Now, I mean it's like a trendy thing
See,
to
this
think of,
is-
but it suits me very very
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
like who I am as a person. I think.
Yeah, that totally does for
And then
sure.
I'll steal that vinyl record and flip it on
That's
and
what I was just gonna say.
pirate it.
That'll be a Burning Man festival.
left like the record somewhere though, or like you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it just end up at like some entertainment exchange or some
Yeah,
shit. Just get
exactly.
pawns off.
Yeah,
Like,
it's-
This is all of Ed's
fucking
life
records.
right here as I'm uploading it on the internet.
That's
yeah,
a really
whatever.
cool
That's
way.
fine. I think that's a good idea. So that's what I think I want to do as of right now. You know, it's going to change from time to time, but I think I'm 100% positive that cremation is going to be the thing I'm going to do when I pass away.
Yeah.
Legacy is the next question now. So we're going to do the same circle, I think. What type of legacy, Dwight, do you feel that you want to leave this world, and how do you want to get there?
You know what? Like, I just want to be known as a guy who, like, I want, like, as corny as it's gonna sound, like, I just want people to sit at a funeral, if it was at that point, and how they want to remember me is, like, this person helped me in some way. Like, I want to be able to, like, every person I've touched, or I've been in, like, contact with, or, I want to make their life better in some small way. So, if I can get, I think one of the best funerals I went to, was my grandma's, and like everyone had something so nice to say, because like she's never cursed in her life. She was just one of the sweetest ladies I've ever met, and she just touched everyone's life. But everyone was at the funeral just talking about nothing but, and you know, everyone will always talk positive things when you're at a funeral. You're going to remember them by the good things they did. Yeah. But I just want to be able to, I want to be known for helping, even if it's one person, even if I like help impacted like one person's life, and this person can be like, you know what, he saved me in going from this path, and now this is where I'm at now, and it's all thanks to this guy. Like, if I could impact one person's life, I've done everything I can leave this earth being okay with that.
Good news, you can leave tomorrow.
So,
you've helped people, and I've seen it personally, hand in hand, like with myself, and I'm sure with Aaron. Like,
yeah.
you're at that point. So I think if that's what your legacy, what you want, legacy you want to leave, then you don't have a lot of accomplishing that you have to get
Thank
to,
you.
where you just have to just keep doing it. You know, like keep doing this. You don't have to like
people
steer
I
in a
can
different
hit,
way.
the better, right?
Absolutely.
But, that means everything. That means everything. So that's, if I can be left with that,
That's solid.
I'm happy.
Aaron?
I want to be the next Jesus.
You can't just become the next.
We've
Jesus,
told you
Aaron,
this
all
before.
right?
You can't.
We've been over
Jesus.
this.
I can try. I can convince some people to follow me.
Okay, like seriously. Okay, he's serious.
I can come back 3 days later. I should have joke about this on like Easter weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not the
Yeah.
best idea. Well, we just dated this episode, by the way.
I don't know. I guess I would just like to be remembered as someone who didn't give up in the face of adversity.
Nice.
I guess that's all I could really ask for.
I think you're pretty well on that path.
I don't know. I feel like giving up. I'll just
Alright.
give up now.
Okay, sweet. Well, then you're fucked.
All right.
It's like you're back down to square one, my friend. I think my legacy. I want to be a family man. You know, I want to be a dad.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to. It's not necessarily about passing down the name. It's more about passing down the knowledge.
And the
Yeah.
Nintendos.
And the Nintendo. Somebody's got to fucking take the shit from me.
Someone's gonna take the 200 fucking Nintendos you have.
I
That's
think.
awesome. Yeah.
Better play
I think
these
that's a
games.
big one. Family. I want to be not only be a husband. I want to be a dad. I'm already a brother. I'm already a son. So and I'm already a husband. So now I think the next step is to be a dad. I think.
I'm adding that to mine.
That's yours. Yeah, you're getting there.
I wanna
Fucking
be a good dad,
stepped
yeah,
ahead of me.
that's
Fucking race is on, bitch. Let's do this.
Who's a better dad?
Steph, in the room. Let's go. I think at my funeral, I don't want a cry. Like I don't want one tear. I want people to
No.
laugh all the way through it.
Yeah.
I think if anything, I want people to look at my life and be able to laugh. And like I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that as in like they can just. That guy knew how to have fun. He knew how to laugh his way through things, and
Yeah.
I think that's one of my strongest attributes is that I'm able to find the funny out of things. That doesn't necessarily need to be there.
Yeah.
And it's most awkward times sometimes, but fuck, I love those laughs. Those are like
Yeah.
my favorite ones.
Best ones.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm hoping for within my legacy. If I can make everybody laugh and have a good time and be a family man at the
That's
same
the
time.
way to go out, right? Too, is when you have like a celebration of life.
Yeah.
Opposed to what a happier way to go about it.
Oh
What
yeah,
an
raise a
awesome way to
glass,
go. Yeah.
have a good laugh,
Yeah.
hang
the
out with a
other
bunch of
hand-
friends that haven't had a chance to. You know?
Yeah.
On
Or
the
be
other
Jesus.
hand,
Or be Jesus.
or just sit there and be like, I never loved you. Just make everyone feel like shit.
I can't remember who. I think it was Titus. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a comedian, Christopher Titus.
Is that the show Titus?
Yeah, he's from the show Titus.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
hilarious.
Titus is an awesome
He's
show.
a great comedian.
Yeah.
He always said that his dad never really wanted a funeral, well, much of one, and he said that what he wanted was for his dad to be buried in a cardboard box, naked, and every person he ever pissed off gets to come to that funeral and piss on him.
Well, it's not bad.
Oh, wow.
I could do that.
That sounds like an Aaron thing to do.
It does sound like an Aaron thing. There we go. I think we might have found an alternative to kicking you out of the car halfway through. Just
we can do both.
We can
just make a
piss
big
on you and then
line
throw you in
of
the
cars. Like piss out of the car.
Everybody gets out of the car. All right, fucking
Bye.
3 shakes of respect. Continue on. All right, well, that has been Why the Fuck Not. I'm Ed.
I'm Dwight.
And I'm Aaron.
If you want, you can reach us on Podbean, SoundCloud. We're also on YouTube, iTunes. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/whythefucknot. You can email us at whythefucknot podcast@gmail.com. We invite you to give us topic ideas and discussions that we'll bring up in future events as soon as we start getting some, because this is just starting to hit light of day right now.
Please leave comments, likes, shares. Really help support us on this.
Absolutely. We will see you next time when Aaron becomes Jesus.
I'm working on it. Over and out.